In marriage counseling, the therapist asked us to describe our relationship in one word. My wife said, complicated. I said, exhausting. She walked out of the session. By the next morning, her whole family knew. I'm 37. My wife, Elise, is 35. We have been married for 4 years and together for almost 9. No kids, one house, 2 full-time jobs, and a marriage that slowly turned into a list of things I was doing wrong. For most of our relationship, I thought we were solid, not perfect, but solid. Elise was organized, ambitious, and blunt. I was steadier, quieter, the person who handled problems without making a big show of it. For a long time, that balance worked. Then she got promoted. Her hours changed. Her commute got longer. She came home tired and irritated almost every night. I tried to make things easier. I cooked dinner before she got home. I did more laundry. I handled the yard. I fixed little things around the house. At first, she thanked me. Then she started correcting me. The food was too heavy, then too plain, then reheated too early. The towels were folded wrong. The dishwasher was loaded wrong. The lawn was cut too short. The grocery list was missing things she never put on it. If I did something, it was wrong. If I waited and asked how she wanted it done, I was making her manage me. I tried to talk to her about it. I said, I feel like nothing I do is good enough. She said, then maybe do it properly the first time. I said, I'm not your employee. She said, then stop acting like one who needs constant supervision. That was the first time I realized her words were not just frustration, they were contempt. I also had a different problem happening at the same time. My nephew Owen is 15. He is my brother's son. He is bright, sensitive, and on the spectrum. He does well with structure and completely shuts down when adults use him as an inconvenience. For years, his mother sent him to summer programs he hated. He would call me miserable. I finally offered to let him spend one summer with me. I signed him up for activities, art classes, beginner theater, skateboarding lessons, a bass guitar teacher because he had been obsessing over music for months. He thrived. He smiled more that summer than I had seen in years. His mother promised to contribute. She never did. My brother said he would help. He visited twice and called that parenting. I did not complain much because Owen was happy, but I remembered not the money exactly, the assumption, the way everyone treated my help like a resource that refilled itself. This year, his mother texted me, when are you picking Owen up for summer? Not asking, telling. I replied, I need half the activity costs paid up front this year. She called me within 5 minutes. She said I was punishing Owen. I said, no, I'm asking his parents to parent. She said, you know he does better with you. I said, I know. That does not mean I am free childcare for 2 months. My brother told me he agreed with me privately, then said he did not want to fight with Owen's mother, so I should just do what was best for Owen. That sentence hit me hard, because in my family, do what is best usually meant you do it. Everyone else explains why they cannot. Around that same period, I started pulling away from my friend group too. My closest friend, Ryan, had been in my life for 6 years. When my last relationship ended, Ryan was the person who checked on me. He was the one who told me I deserved better. He was the one who said I should not let people treat me like a placeholder. Then I met Elise. At first, Ryan seemed happy for me, but his girlfriend Claire did not. Claire was close with my ex. So when I brought Elise around, Claire was cold, not openly cruel, just enough. Short answers, no eye contact, leaving conversations when Elise joined. making her feel like she had committed some crime by existing after my last relationship ended. I told Ryan. He said I was reading too much into it. I said, Elise noticed it too. He said, Claire is just protective. I said, of who? My ex from my wife? Months later, Ryan admitted the truth over drinks. He said Claire thought I had moved on too quickly. He said the group was trying to adjust. Trying. That word sat in my chest like a stone. I said, trying to accept my wife? He said, that's not what I meant. I said, it is exactly what you meant. That friendship never recovered. Because once someone tells you they are trying to tolerate the person you married, you cannot unhear it. And I was starting to notice that everyone in my life seemed to think I should be grateful for partial respect. At home, things with Elise got worse. One Saturday, my neighbor helped me repair a broken section of our fence. It was a two-person job. Elise came outside afterward, looked at it, and said, so you needed help for that? I said, yes, because it needed two people. She said, or you just didn't want to do it yourself. The neighbor heard. He pretended not to. I felt my face get hot. Inside, I told her she embarrassed me. She said, if you're embarrassed, maybe ask yourself why. I said, because my wife spoke to me like I was useless in front of someone else. She said, you're being dramatic. I said, no, I'm tired. She said, everyone is tired. That was the problem. If she was tired, it explained everything. If I was tired, I was making excuses. I started doing less around the house, not out of revenge, out of defeat. Why cook if the meal would be criticized? Why fix something if the repair would be inspected like a failed exam? Why offer help if help was just another opening for correction? Elise noticed immediately. She said I was slacking. I said, I am exhausted from being told everything I do is wrong. She said, maybe you should take accountability instead of playing victim. That word again, accountability. People love that word when they are asking someone else to carry the weight. I told Elise we needed counseling. She refused at first. She said couples did not need a stranger involved. I said, then we need a lawyer involved. That got her attention. She agreed. Counseling was not what I hoped. The therapist would ask a question. Elise would answer by listing what I did wrong. The therapist would try to redirect. Elise would say she was just being honest. I would try to explain how I felt. Elise would say my perception was distorted. After 4 months, I felt worse than when we started. Then came the one word exercise. The therapist asked us to describe each other and the marriage in one word. Elise described me as withdrawn. She described the marriage as fixable. I described Elise as critical. Then I described the marriage as exhausting. The room went silent. Elise looked at me like I had slapped her. She said, how could you say that? I said, because it is true. She stood up. The therapist asked her to sit back down. Elise said, I'm not sitting here while my husband demeans me. Then she left. The next morning, she demanded an apology. I said, I'm sorry it hurt you, but I'm not sorry I said it. She said, that is not an apology. I said, I know. She said, you need to see things differently. I said, I need things to be different before I can see them differently. By that evening, her mother had called, then her sister, then one of our mutual friends. Everyone had an opinion about my wording. Nobody asked why I felt exhausted. Not one person. They wanted me to soften the truth because the truth made Elise uncomfortable. That same week, my brother called about Owen again. He asked if I had cooled down. I said, I am not taking him for the whole summer unless his parents contribute up front. He said, You know she won't. I said, Then she can explain that to her son. He said, That's cold. I said, What's cold is using a kid's disappointment to pressure me into paying for everyone else's choices. For once, I did not cave. I expected chaos. Instead, something strange happened. My brother found the money, not all of it, but enough to show effort. Apparently, people can contribute when doing nothing stops working. That made me angry in a way I did not expect because it meant they always could have done more. They just did not have to while I kept saying yes. Update 1: Owen is still spending part of the summer with me. Not the whole summer, part of it. His parents are paying for activities before he arrives. I love him, but loving him does not mean I have to rescue his parents from every inconvenience. Update 2: Ryan reached out after months of silence. He said he misses our friendship. He said Claire was in a hard position because of my ex. I told him Elise was in a harder one. She had done nothing wrong and still had to earn basic welcome. He said, I thought enough time had passed. I said, Time passed. Accountability did not. We have not spoken since. Update 3: Elise and I are separated. She says, I gave up. I say, I finally stopped auditioning. Maybe both things are true, but the house is quiet now. For the first time in years, I can cook dinner without waiting for a verdict. I do not know if we will divorce. I do not know if counseling can still help. Part of me misses the woman I married. Part of me wonders if that version of her only existed when I was easy to admire, before I had needs, before I said no, before I described the marriage honestly. I spent most of my life believing effort could fix everything. Work harder, give more, be patient, be useful, be understanding. But effort becomes dangerous when people start treating it as something they are owed. Being useful is not the same thing as being valued. And sometimes the people most offended by your boundaries are the ones who benefited most from you having none. Maybe I should have spoken up sooner. Maybe I let resentment build. Maybe I made myself too available and then blamed people for taking what I offered. I can admit that. But I also know this: a relationship should not require one person to disappear quietly so everyone else can stay comfortable. And if saying I am exhausted destroys the relationship, maybe the relationship was only surviving because I never said it out loud.